Garage, the car we're featuring today, 1964 Volvo P1800 Cyan. Let me explain what all that means, okay? To me, the 50s and the 60s are the most exciting time for racing because I love that era because you could drive a car to a racetrack, slightly modified, race it, and then drive it home and win the race. Jaguar did that, Le Mans, Aston Martin did it too. It was really a great period because the cars you could buy resembled, and in many ways, they're extremely similar to the cars that you raced. You know, I loved NASCAR in the 60s when Fords had Ford engines, Chevys had Chevys, and Chrysler came in with a Hemi and killed them all. Then they came back with their, you know, the big rat motors and the camera. You know, now everything's kind of homogenized. This goes back to that classic era of racing when cars had no anti-lock brakes, no traction control, just you and the car, and just getting that full driving experience. The real emphasis here is not on horsepower, although this is extremely powerful and has a lot of horsepower. If you could go back to 1964 with modern technology and use a lot of the things that we have today on one of those cars, what would it be like? And I think this is what it would be like. You have the basic structure and look and feel of a Volvo P1800 from 1964, but with some modern upgrades just to make it safer, handle better. It's a fascinating project. Let's meet the gentleman, Hans Boot. Hans, come on in. Okay, he's the kind of genius behind this. And I think it's just great, because to me, I mean, I like the hypercars, 1100 horsepower, this kind of, and they're fun, but I think something is missing, you know. I think the reason the Miata is the most popular sports car is it's fun to drive. The emphasis is not on horsepower. Now this has 4-cylinder engine, 420 horsepower, correct?
Correct.
So what does it weigh?
Yeah, it's lightweight. In metric system, it's 990 kilos, so about 2,500, 100.
2,100 pounds.
Yep.
So it weighs a ton and 100 pounds.
Yep.
Wow. Wow. That's about as light as you can get, I think. You can't get much lighter than that. I mean, you know what's funny? When I was a kid, a light car was a Lotus Elan at 1,300 or 1,400 pounds. Porsche 911s were 2,700, 2,800. Now every car is porking out at close to 4,000 pounds. 3,400 is considered lightweight now. So at 2,100 pounds, boy, that's a great power to ratio. I would say 420 horsepower with 2,100 pounds in a normal car would be 625 horsepower. In about 30. So well, we'll find it out. Okay, well, that's really impressive. Yeah, 2,100 pounds. And of course, that's mostly due to the carbon fiber structure.
That's an important part of it.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Turbocharged or supercharged? Turbocharged. Turbocharged, okay. So tell us what we have here. We started with a 64
P1800.
P1800.
Yes.
And where do we go from there?
So we keep some of the steel, like part of the unibody.
Right.
But if you look at, you started off really good with explaining a 60s car. It's not that rigid.
Right.
It's sort of quite weak in a number of spots. So first of all, we changed a lot of that steel and triangulate weak points to make it stiff.
I mean, for example, it'd be like the early Fords. They used to call it a Monte Carlo bar because they're racing the Monte Carlo race, the Falcons. Yeah. It would go across the hood. You see that on a lot of modern cars. It's a metal brace, literally goes over the engine. It's adjustable. It's got bolts, it's got nuts on each side, and you can make it as tight. And that's by, you just stiffened up the structure so it's not flexing.
Exactly. So we replace a lot of the steel with modern steel as well, because there's a huge difference between what you can make today out of steel and what you did in the days.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing, because like I have a 64 Honda 600, which was made out of literally old battleships. I mean, it was scrap steel. And the whole, from the bottom of the door up, it just rotted away. You got a little water in those sills, and you could poke your finger through it. So we had to put new metal in there. So you're using modern steel. Okay,
we do that. Yes. But what you see here is a carbon fiber body, so there's no visible steel at all.
So the whole body is carbon fiber. Yeah. Okay. So obviously that takes a lot of the weight off.
It does, even though you put some bits and pieces that weigh more, but the carbon fiber reduces. So we're pretty where the car is as a standard car.
You know, we all talked about Corvette with fuel injection and Hemis and oh, well, Volvos are like real sensible, right? Isn't that the one the English professors in Vermont drive with the pipe? And the driving gloves, and it has a sensible amount of horsepower, and it's very reliable. You know, that's their reputation, but the reputation was great for selling cars, but not for selling excitement.
Exactly.
You know, that was the deal. So a lot of us, especially, I love the wagon version of this too. I thought that was just fantastic.
Yes.
And it's just a great looking car. We just thought, oh, and I think it left the factory with what, 125 horsepower, is that about right?
Yeah, I think, for US, yes.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So it was like what Rolls-Royce used to call adequate, you know, as opposed to, they never sold the excitement of the car. And to look at it, it's a really exciting looking car. I mean, it looks contemporary. I mean, it still looks like you could almost make this today and be stylish and cool and everything else. You know, you look at a Countach and you go, oh, that screams 1980, you know, or a Volkswagen Beetle or something. But this, you know, good design is timeless. So when you have a shape that's pleasing, it can last 100 years, you know. Yeah, really good. So this is all carbon fiber, okay.
Yeah.
Now the track is wider, obviously, correct?
The track is wider, but the body is actually the same proportions.
Right.
These surfaces are the same size.
And of
as
course,
the original.
it's rear-wheel drive. It's not four-wheel drive.
Rear-wheel drive, yes.
Rear-wheel drive. 5-speed transmission?
5-speed Australian gearbox.
Okay.
We searched the whole world to find a gearbox that could give us sort of that mechanical feel.
Is that from a Holden?
No, it's a race gearbox from the start. It's a Hollinger.
Oh, okay. So it's built specifically.
Yeah.
Okay.
With
So
bespoke gears for this car.
so it can take the power, because I don't think the standard Volvo transmission would take 420
No.
horsepower. Well, let's open the hood.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's show people what the engine looks like. I always like this. This is always kind of cool.
This is really part of the style of the car.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you want me to do it for you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. There we go.
You know, these days we're so obsessed with horsepower over everything, you forget the enjoyment. Oh boy, that's about as clean an engine bay as I've seen. It fits right in there. You know, you're so used to that giant sheet of plastic
Oh yes.
covering everything, you know?
This is based on a modern Volvo engine. So
Right.
if you buy any Volvo today, you will get this cylinder head and this block.
So it's 2 liter.
2-liter turbo far down here.
Right.
And it's also part of the idea that we hide the turbo there visibly, but we also hide it in the characteristics when you drive the car, because we wanted to keep that 60s feeling that you don't get all the torque in the beginning. So we have the power comes linear with the revs.
You know, it's funny when you talk about that 60s feeling, a lot of the younger viewers might not know what we're talking about. For example, I have a couple of Hudsons over there from the early 50s. And the thing I liked about them is it just predates power steering and power brake by a couple of years. So consequently, everything is nicely weighted. When you're driving the car, they engineer road feel into it. So, okay, and they're wonderful to drive. They won all the stock car, even though they only had a little 6-cylinder engine with 2 one-barrel carburetors on it. They won all the races because they handle.
Yeah.
And they had that frame, the step-down design and all that kind of stuff. But the great thing about driving is you've got a big steering wheel, and just turning it, you feel just the right amount of road feel. And that's what makes these things so much fun to drive. You know, when you would see MGs and Triumphs and, of course, Volvos in the 60s, people would drive them cross country, and they, how could you do it with no top and no window? Well, they were just so much fun to drive. You really got road feel.
Yeah,
You really feel like modern cars, 100 miles an hour feels like 40.
Yeah.
On these kind of cars, 40 feels like 100 miles an hour. And that's sort of the
Yeah. And it's like, if you don't have all that power, like you mentioned the Miata, you can drive it really hard without, you know,
Right.
going crazy speeds.
You know, I kind of liken it to show business. The more money you throw at a movie, the less good it is to me, because it relies on special effects. When you get something that's well written, all you need is a room and a couple of really good actors, and it sells it. You know, and it's the same sort of theory
it's a
here.
bit, yeah, it's a good
You know,
comparison.
you're just, to me, sometimes money ruins stuff because you can't get creative. You know, like building this car, if it wasn't you building it, someone else would, well, what's the biggest motor we can get in here? What's the most horsepower? Okay, let's make it.
Oh, yeah.
And consequently, the tires are too wide, and it's fast, it's just not as much fun. You don't get as much enjoyment from the curves as you do.
This engine is also very light,
Yeah.
so we get weight distribution that is 47 on the front and 53 on the rear.
That's just
So-
about perfect, isn't
Yeah, it's
it?
perfect. So if we would have put a bigger engine, that would have been gone.
And this, of course, is clutch.
And it's a balance bar for the brakes,
Oh,
so if you want to
okay.
have that adjusted. So
Oh, so you can adjust your...
yes.
Okay.
Everything is actually adjustable. We're a race team, so even though this is not a race car, we
But
wanted
this
to
is a
build
street
it.
car.
It's a street car, definitely, but we wanted to make it adjustable in all sort of ways for the customer to make it his or hers.
But it's a street car you can drive on
Absolutely,
a
yes.
race car you can drive on the street.
No, I would say it's let's drive it and see what you say,
Okay,
but
okay.
that's not definitely not our aim.
Right.
And also it can be faster than this one is, but
Yeah.
it's not the thing with this car. It could be fun and not fast. So tire spec is one thing that we really tune down to make it, soft and
Right.
nice to drive.
Yeah, it's really finding the ultimate road feel. I don't know what the analogy would be. It's like when I'm not a wine drinker and I see people go, oh, this is a slightly different with this. I have no idea what they're talking about. But I know what you're talking about when it comes to
Yeah,
cars.
yeah.
Because I know people with cars go, it's a car, you just drive it. Well, no, there is a certain feel. I had a friend of mine who always just bought cars. And when he got successful, he goes, let's buy. I said, at the time the BMW M was, I said, get one of those. He goes, and then he drove it, he goes, wow, that's unbelievable. It's really fun to drive. Because he was just driving cars before to get places. Now he takes the long way because he really liked the way it
And
feels.
the twisty one.
The way it handles. Yeah, very nice. Very cool. Okay, what else do we have here? Let's see.
Yeah, we're talking about the gearbox.
Yeah.
And then we have a
Is it straight cut gears or is
no,
it?
no, a helicoil.
Helicoil,
So,
okay.
yeah, so it's based on a race gearbox, but it's definitely not that anymore.
Right, right.
But we wanted to have that mechanical click, click, click feeling.
Right,
So
right.
it was a bit of work to us.
I think
say
you
that.
and Gordon Murray would hit it off very well.
Let's see what you think about this, but it's
Yeah.
the same. I think we're looking for the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then the suspension is designed by us, so it's double wishbones, front and rear, fully adjustable, Öhlins suspension. We've been working with Öhlins for.
Where do you
ever.
build these? In Sweden?
They're built in Sweden, yes.
Right, right. Well, it looks good. The wheels, are those your own design wheels?
Yeah, own design. Another detail is that all the chrome you see on the car,
Yes.
that's milled out of aluminium blocks.
Okay.
So and
So it's
and
not chrome,
chromed.
it's aluminum.
It's aluminum that is chromed.
Oh, I see. I enjoy seeing chrome on cars because you don't see it anymore. I just don't get these modern cars with matte black and matte gray and nothing pops, nothing shines to me. This really looks pretty, and it's not in excess. It's just nicely done.
And the whole idea with the design is that there is no single surface that is exactly as the original car was.
Right.
But if a person that know how a P1800 looks like should see it, he should see it that it's a P1800.
Right.
But if you put one next to it, there's a big difference.
Nothing you can swap over.
No, absolutely not.
Right,
And we
yeah.
try to. The guy that designed this car is actually designed in Italy by a Swede.
Right.
The way he did it was really, really talented at the time. And we just tried to, finish the things that maybe after all those years you see that there are
Well,
opportunities for.
sometimes people don't appreciate how much work goes into design. Like people always think they could design a car, and I say, draw me a circle. And they can't. And you see a designer goes, and it's a
Yeah,
circle.
yeah.
But you see it like this, and it's not even close.
And it's also about envisioning things. If you take a step back, we see that the hood is longer on this car, and it's not that we moved the greenhouse, but it's
Right.
that we've moved the axles to like 30 millimeters to the front, just to give it that more of a sports car.
One complaint I
profile.
had about the original cars, you said, were the tires were too far inward.
Yeah,
That
terrible.
always made it look weird. The GM cars are like the Tornado, which was one of my favorites when it came out in '66. But the rear wheels were in here, and you had this much. It drove me nuts. It didn't look right.
No, it didn't.
Yeah.
Definitely.
If it looks like it, because cars have posture. By that I mean, like I bought my '66 Hemi Coronet because I liked the way it sat. It just sat right. Front and back were exactly same. It just had a nice look to it, and it appeared to be like a solid billet, like this. Tell me about the flares. Are these added on, or are those part of the?
They are added on,
Right, okay.
but it's actually up to the client to buy the car if they want it or not. Because you
Okay.
can have it with a more, and you can have it with smaller wheels if you would like that. So it's a bit.
What are these? These 19s?
18-inch.
Oh, 18-inch.
Yes.
Okay, so really old school, huh?
Yeah, you could say that. Yes.
Well, what's funny, because I drive a lot of these cars with 21s, even 22s, and I hit a pothole, bang, and I got a flat, and I have no spare, and I have to wait for, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, an 18 or 19-inch tire really gives you a better ride, and with something like this, probably better grip, doesn't it?
I mean, if you get some tire wall, you get that the tire to work a little bit more together with the suspension, and that gives you so much more of that.
Okay. Well, and I love the way you've got the gas cap here.
Had to be there.
That's the way they did it back in the day, wasn't it?
It was.
And obviously a fuel cell. Can I open this?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, you're not playing golf with this car, okay?
Small golf clubs.
Yeah, small golf. You can play miniature golf,
Yes.
but not regular golf. Okay, what is that, about
But
18-gallon tank?
Nah, I think 14.
Oh, that's all 14, okay. But this probably gets pretty good gas mileage.
It'll take you quite far.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It'll
Depending on your driving style.
It'll take you quite far. Your mileage may vary, isn't that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, look, if you're worried about gas mileage, this is not the car for you.
I think when you drive it, you will understand why you continuously want to accelerate. If you look at the interior, all the instruments look similar to the original, but they're all digital. So the car has a motorsport quality electrical system. So that's also a good thing compared to the 60s car.
It's funny,
This should not leave you at the
one criticism
side
I
of the
had
road.
when I was a kid was you couldn't do this. You know, because it was the first car. I never saw a car with a sill that high. So when you sit, you're right here, so you're going to have your hand out the window, your elbow, you're kind of doing that all the time. I used to think, that's drive me nuts. Well, let's see what else we got. Any other electric water pump or mechanical water pump?
Electric.
Oh, electric water pump. Okay,
So control over that.
I'll say something there.
It's got an air condition, but you don't see it, so we've hidden it in the rear of the
Is
car.
it electric air conditioning?
Electric, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you really tricked it out. Okay. And how big an alternator do you need for that? It must be.
Yeah, it's depending on where you live, really.
Right.
So,
okay.
So we
If
try
you
to.
live anywhere there's sun, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I see the alternator down there. Okay. Actually, it doesn't look much bigger than a standard alternator.
Oh, it's not. So we actually, it's a complicated matter, but we ensure that we can combine it with the.
I'm not even going to ask how much it costs because it's not the important thing here. Because and I'm sure it's very expensive when you get a car like this hand built. I mean, it really is something. And and it's just such a classic design. You know, I've seen guys put 327 Chevys, small block Fords in them. It just kind of, it just does, I like when it stays true to its heritage, you know. And that's what's kind of built in Sweden, by Swedes, using Swedish parts. There you go. Very nice, very nice. Well, can we take it for a spin?
Absolutely.
Let's do it. Let's put the hood
Let's
down.
do that.
Just let it drop.
I will need to
Oh, okay.
do that handle. Because that was the way it was done in the 60s.
Right. Oh, and then it pulls it.
Yeah.
Locks it down. Right.
Right. Want to take it for a spin?
Let's do it.
So, red line is 7.7. It's linear. The power is linear with the revs, but about 5.5, I think the fun begins really. I think if you measure the revs with your smile, then it should be fine.
Yeah, it's got all kinds of power. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's very enjoyable.
I mean, you can use so much with a turbo engine, but I think this is the way you want it. You really drive it all the time. You just don't.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You know, it's so funny. If you don't tell people how much horsepower it has, you say drive it, and they go, oh, this feels just about right. And this feels like it's the right amount of horsepower. You know, a lot of people just buy a car based on 1 or 2 performance statistics.
Yes.
0 to 6, oh, that one's a tenth faster. So you're missing the whole point of the car, you know.
Numbers aren't that important, really.
Yeah.
It's how you can drive it and how you can use it.
As I said before, having driven a lot of cars with 400 horsepower, they're 1,000 or more, probably 1,500 pounds heavier than this. They feel way, way slower. As I said, this feels like it's 5 1/4, 550, something like that.
So this engine is actually a brainchild of a British guy that came to Volvo. I don't know when he came, but he was there for more than 20 years.
Right.
So he was head of powertrain. And he went out. He realized that we need to make one engine. We can't afford to have, it's a small company, so we just make one engine that we use for everything. So it's lightweight, it's really efficient, and the fun thing is, I heard you mentioned Colin Chapman before. This guy did work for Colin Chapman in the days. You know,
yeah.
So it was almost closing the loop for him to build a lightweight 4-cylinder engine. So this is the same race engine as we race in the World Touring Car Championship, just a different spec. Came into production in 2014, but we had it in a race car in the World Championship in 11, so 3 years before it went into production. Yeah.
Did you try a normally aspirated version of the motor first?
No, we didn't, because it's sort of a turbo engine.
Yeah. I mean, just keeping the 60s thing.
Yeah. We went through all the engines, you know, everything from the standard V18 to...
Ever try a supercharger or always turbo?
I mean, in a Volvo you can get it with turbo and supercharger, really.
Right.
So, but we wanted this spec. I mean, we did race, you know, even the V8 down in Australia. That would fit, but it would be, even though that is a light aluminium engine, it's still sort of more weight. I think it's a combination of our relationship to the engine, all those years in motorsport, and then the lightness of it. And you get a very reliable engine. I mean, everyone is asking, oh, this is an extreme car, when for maintenance. I mean, but it's a normal engine. It's nothing, you know, racing with it.
It's funny when that turbo starts.
So we took this car last week to Kingsburg. Are you familiar with that place?
Which one?
It's Kingsburg. It's a town like 200 miles from here.
No, I don't know.
It's a Sweden town.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So we went there with a car and driver.
Yeah.
And they sort of opened up the whole town for us. Came out, you know, in traditional Swedish clothes.
That's very funny.
And we had Swedish pancakes.
That's funny.
That was really fun.
Swedish meatballs.
Yeah, but you get that at IKEA.
Fifth gear is a nice cruising gear, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So that was why I mentioned the 200 miles trip. It was quite okay, actually. It's
you get a nice snick on the gearbox there. Boy, no cowl shake. Everything is very.
I mean, you always hear. I mean, we wanted this one to be light, so there is no insulation, you know.
Right.
And you want the sort of the feeling of the chassis, so quite firm bushings and stuff, but obviously, you know.
That doesn't feel that firm to me. I would probably not have this kind of, I'd probably not have the racing seat, I'd probably have a regular seat.
Yeah. Isn't it nice when you sort of work the engine?
Yeah, okay.
So when you're on the freeway, it's like, I want to do that again. So go down 2 gears and then up. We've been up on a few canyon roads. That's where it's really perfect.
Yeah.
Steering is set up for that as well. So it's, you know, there's no center.
Yeah.
So you should be able to sort of exactly decide where you want to put the car.
Steering is adjustable or no?
No, it's where it is.
There's more pedal there than you realize.
Yeah, it is. It is.
You know, you big, that seems, there's another 1.5 inches here.
Yep. It's like you have to tell people that when they drive them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're so used to that 20% throttle, you have almost.
I know.
You almost have to lift.
The nice thing is you register it as a 64, so you don't have to meet all safety and emissions. And Europe is getting crazy now.
Yeah.
Now they got speed limiters on everything. And, Jesus.
Yeah, the new Volvos, they do 180. That's it. Kilometers.
Yeah.
That's it. But then obviously it's a market for.
And what is that? About 120?
It should be, yeah. It's time for 1.6, yeah. And another thing, we actually put Mercedes spec tires on it.
Yeah.
To get that progressive feeling. You see, I think you feel that when you accelerate, it sort of it sits a little bit like that, and also during cornering, it won't snap. You'll feel when it sort of starts to.
I know. I was going to ask, is electric or hydraulic power steering? Oh no, it's direct. There's no.
There is actually power steering.
Oh, it does have power steering.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like power steering.
No, it should not feel like that, but it.
Is it electric?
It's electric, yeah. Because parking.
Right.
Big wheels parking. You're just moving your car from the 60s,
Right.
like this. So we felt that there's no power. I mean,
No power booster.
no power booster for the brakes.
Yeah.
No traction control. No ABS. But we wanted that. I'm really excited. Quite few people actually drive it like that.
Oh, it drives very nice.
Yeah, but I mean, normally I have to know a little bit more, but because you drive it like you would in a 60s car. You want all that, and all the way on the rail, on the gear. And
Well, I really get a kick out when the boost kicks in there.
It's almost singing.
Yeah, the engine sounds very efficient.
How do you like the brakes?
Brakes are great. Most people don't realize how much pedal pressure it took to stop a car from the 60s.
No, exactly.
You get so used to
Yeah.
power brakes. I don't feel like I'm wasting any fuel,
No?
I don't smell hydrocarbons.
I think you run this. If you just drive it, back and forth, it's like any modern Volvo. Like you get the good mileage.
I've got a '63 Porsche Carrera. The twin cam.
Yeah.
And this reminds me of that. The tach is always right near 7, and you're using all the power.
Yeah.
I mean, the more you drive it, the more you want to drive it, because now you're starting to, you get the sounds and the smells and the feel of everything. It really is very nice. And the gearing is very nice. I mean, never even got the 5th gear.
No, that's more for highway.
Right, that's what I mean.
Yeah. But I think it's nice that you really use the gears rather than just stay in one gear and
Well, that's what's fun, yeah. And really strong synchros. You not feel like you're.
It's really mechanical. So this car is actually the decision to build it. Was taken 17 because we've been racing with Volvo since '96.
Right.
And AIM has always been the world title. So we got that in 2017. And we sold the car business to Volvo, so we felt that we should do something, to celebrate that. So
Well, I think
that's
Oh yeah, I think it's great.
So many years with Volvo, and
To me, this is like buying a fine mechanical watch. You get like an electric watch for $100 to keep time.
yeah,
Perfect.
no problem.
But I'm one of those guys. I enjoy the watch on the nightstand, turning hearing it click before we go to bed, get a little tighter. Now it's wound up for another 48 hours.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with the car.
And I think we started looking at, all the classic Volvos, but this one just stands out.
Oh, it does.
It's
And I'm not. I think this is probably the lightest car we've driven in a long time. Even the new Lotus, I don't think is this light.
All right.
No, it's pretty amazing. Australian, eh?
Yeah. Hollinger.
Everybody runs those ultra thin oils now for emissions, but I imagine you guys probably run a 2050 or something. Yeah, when you feel that turbo start to go to work, it's a lot of fun.
I heard another thing I've never heard about before. Like in some of the car chase movies, they actually do it in traffic, like the French Connection.
Yeah.
There is one of the crashes is with a guy that is on his way to work.
Right.
And they just drive. They continue. They had some permits to make the filming, but they went further.
Oh.
And it's in the movie because it was realistic.
Oh, really?
Obviously, it's realistic because it was a proper crash.
Oh, in the Fresh Connection. Yeah, that's funny.
Never heard that before.
That had one of the most realistic scenes to me in the French Connection, where the bad guy, the French guy, and the conductor goes, "Come on, you don't want to shoot anybody. Put the gun down." And the guy shoots him, which is what criminals do in real life. They don't get a pang of conscience to put the gun down, you know. You know, I hate all the modern stunt movies. You know, back when Rene Julian was doing the movies, he actually did the stunt. I mean, of course, it's all planned and all that, but the car really did the stunt, you know. That's what I liked about the Bourne Identity. When the car goes up the steps, they really had it going up the steps. It wasn't, I hate any movie where they go, whoa! You know, the car goes over a jump and...
Yes, I totally agree. When you see that there is a lot of action, but there is no realism in the action.
Well, my favorite thing, and this must drive the automakers crazy. Jason Bourne's running from the bad guys.
Yeah.
There's a brand new Audi, you know, the high-tech four-door sedan sitting there. He gets in, he pulls two wires, a red one and a blue one, he goes, and the car starts. And I go, you know, the engineers are just screaming at that. Well, thanks so much for bringing, you know, this is really an impressive car. It's a lot of fun to drive. It's exactly what I thought it would be.
Right.
It's exactly, I'm not disappointed in any way. It's great fun. I mean, playing with this gearbox, hearing the engine scream, hearing the turbo spool up, and still being in full control of the car. You never feel like it's getting away from you or it's outrunning you. Brakes, everything, really nice. Just a nice job. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. It's fun to see, because I always loved this car when I was a kid. It just wasn't exciting enough, you know? When you were a kid,
it lacked a little bit, though.
Yeah, you just wanted
everything.
Just a little. It was so sensible, you know. But no.
It sure had the looks, but
yeah, it had the looks, and you know, it's still a good-looking car. I mean, people who don't know automobiles would look at this and think, "Oh, is that a modern car?" You know, it doesn't. There's nothing that dates it. No. You know, there's not an overabundance of. Look at this guy wants to check it out. How you doing? Not an overabundance of chrome or crazy fins or anything like that. And I remember when the wagon version of this came out, I just thought it was the most practical sports car I'd ever seen. You could actually carry stuff. You could go somewhere in it, and with suitcases and everything. Yeah. Well, really nice job. I would say leave it here for a couple of weeks, but I know you can't do that. But thank you very much. I hope you folks at home got a kick out of this as well. It's just fun to see a Volvo getting its due in the performance field. You know, they've always been great cars, but whatever they lack, this car has. That's what makes it exciting. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Dave.
This is great.